Alright, so I'm going to go ahead through the process of making one of these forms here. This particular form, it's somewhat like an egg or a rock-like form, but one thing to note here is that there's styrofoam on the inside of this here. Okay, so as I've been doing these glass fiber reinforced cement sculptures, I've been building over styrofoam. In a second I'm going to show you in the same video another form that's covered with styrofoam, but you can't see the styrofoam on that one, so I wanted you to see this one. And also something else to mention is the setup I have here. I'm going to use the same setup, and I'm going to take you through the entire process of making one of these, mainly to teach you step by step how I made the styrofoam form underneath this, and then how I mix the cement, how I coat this thing. It applies to any sculpture you would do. I'm just working with this particular form, and I chose this form for numerous reasons. I'm not going to discuss them all right now, but you know, one of the reasons why I chose this form is because as I'm adding cement to this, it gets flipped upside down. So the wet cement at one point in the process is sticking to the bottom of this without falling off. Okay, which is something that's really important if you're going to use this material, that you could make it adhere and grab onto the styrofoam inside. So this sculpture is not completed yet. There's going to be multiple aspects involved in finishing this, but the main reason I'm showing this to you right now is, once again, underneath this outer shell, which is at this point a ½ inch thick reinforced cement, there's styrofoam inside this. Okay, so I just want to make it clear that even in the case of this one, there's styrofoam. The plan for this one now is I'm going to slice this thing up and then recombine them in a different way to finish the sculpture. But the main thing, the only reason I'm really showing this to you now is to show you that even this one has styrofoam inside, even though you can't see it. I'm making another form about as big as this one here. I've already drawn lines on this sheet of styrofoam right here. This right here measures roughly 20 by 12 inches. I measured it before. So this particular sheet of styrofoam right here, I found from a neighbor that was getting rid of this material. Before doing this one, I was buying, and I will again, I'm sure, buying styrofoam from Home Depot or Lowe's. I was actually having better luck at Lowe's. So I was trying to get the thickest styrofoam I could that they had. And they had these 2-inch thick sheets of styrofoam here at Lowe's, okay? That's what this is here. So, for an 8x4 foot sheet, it was like 23 bucks. But the problem with the styrofoam, it's not a problem, it just takes more time. You have to peel off this, okay? You have to peel it off. I tried one sculpture where I didn't peel it off and just glued them together without peeling it off, and the problem about that was this plastic created all kinds of problems. So the one I found from the neighbor already didn't have that surface on there at all. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move this aside here, and I'm just going to do a quick demo on cutting the styrofoam here. So I have a T-square. You could use a ruler too if that's what you have. It's better to have a longer one, like at least this is 24 inches across here. So here's a utility knife. And I'm going to go ahead and use this utility knife and just score into the foam. I'll get about a ½ inch to an inch. I'm not going to make this video too long. I'm just going through this here. My blade's not super sharp. I'm not going to make this too long. I'm going to do 1 or 2 cuts. So I already measured and I already drew these lines on here. And with styrofoam, this is thicker than most of them breaking. After you store it, should pop on the line I just cut in there. There, see that? So that's one piece. Now I just have to continue the process. I'll do one more cut in this video and then we'll end this here. And then what I'll be doing later on is gluing these sheets of styrofoam together later. And I'll show you how to glue them together to build a bigger piece. You can buy styrofoam already in big blocks, but it's a lot more expensive. So I was trying to figure out ways to, save money for both myself and artists that are doing this, to buy it from a big box store, a big box retail store like Lowe's or Home Depot. And this is particularly thick. This is 3 inches thick. They didn't have any like this thick at Home Depot. So, all right. So that's 2 pieces. I'm going to cut one more cut here. I'll have 4 pieces, and then I'll do another video gluing those together, sandwiching them together with the glue that I've been using. So this is the can that I've been using. This can of styrofoam here. It's great stuff. It's expandable spray foam from Lowe's or Home Depot. It's usually used for insulating around windows, like it says window and door. I'll spray it on here. It'll expand, but it's very sticky stuff. So I recommend, if you haven't used it much, wear gloves, okay? Because it'll stick to your hands and it's really difficult to get off later. You have to use solvents. And also, I'm going to try to be careful not to get it on myself, on my pants, because it won't come off either. So I'm shaking it up. You've got to shake it pretty well. Now, the reason why I use this foam over others is because it doesn't expand as much. They have a red can of foam and I think a yellow too. They expand more. The problem is the cans don't last very long because when you use them, they plug up. Both, you know, they tend to keep foaming even after you're done with them. This one doesn't do that. And then to clean off my spray applicator at the end, what I do is I use brake cleaner. It just helps make the can of foam last longer. If you use the whole can up, there's no problem, but the cans aren't that cheap. They're like $6 each. So ideally, if you're only going to use it for a second, you could save it and use it again. You should wear protective glasses if you're going to use this, because it could splash in your eye. You can't see my eyes right now in the video. But you really need to do that, because you could injure your eye. Okay? Alright, so this is shaken up relatively well, so I'm going to go ahead and spray a coat on here now. Alright? It works better if you hold the can upside down, because otherwise you ruin, like you expel all the propellant in the can, and then there's no pressure in the can anymore. So it works better if you turn the can upside down. Now hopefully it comes out. If not, it means this applicator tip is old and I have to go find another one. So let's pause it for a second. I'll go find.
Okay, you're on.
Ready? Okay, so I got a better tip now. Sometimes the tips get plugged up, so I'm just going to move pretty quick. I'm not pulling the trigger too hard, because if I do, a ton of it will come out at once. As long as you keep moving, you don't have to clean the tip. So I'm going to push this down on top of that, and at the very end, when I'm done with all this, I'll weight it down with something, and I'll probably pause it again at that point and go find something heavy to set on it. You have some time to reposition as you go. It doesn't immediately set up. So I could still slide things around a bit, which I can do for a while, but not for, after like 3 to 5 minutes or so, you can't do that anymore. So. Pretty sticky stuff, so. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and put this on, and then I'm going to clean my applicator tip. I'll show you how to do that right now. So let's go ahead and pause it. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to go just show you how I clean this off so I can keep reusing the can. Once again, wear safety goggles so you can get this stuff in your eyes. So I'm just going to barely pull this trigger here. It's a very strong solvent, which means it dissolves the styrofoam. If I push too hard, it'll shoot a massive spray out, so I'm just barely pressing. You can hardly even see it. What I'm doing is I'm just filling the tip here of this with some of the solvent. That's the main thing I'm trying to do, is prevent the can from continuing to foam up. And then the tip's important. If I want to reuse this again, like what I showed at the beginning of the video, I showed one of these that wasn't working anymore. So they don't work forever. I typically do this over a trash can, but right now I'm not, okay? And I stick the applicator in there, and you can see it dissolves the foam. I don't know if you can see this. Yeah, can you see it at all? I'm kind of shoving this in there, and it just dissolved all the foam in the tube there. Typically, like I said, I'll do this over a trash can. I'm trying to find a way to show you this. So now all the yellow gooey foam is gone from here. So that's cleaned out now, and I'll set it aside with the can, and I can use it again later. If I don't do that, I'll waste all the foam in the can, and I'll waste my applicators. You only get one of these with every can of foam. So these are already sprayed together, as I just did for you a minute ago. They're glued together with the spray foam adhesive. Now I'm just making sure everything's lined up. It's not quite lined up. I'm going to readjust here. It's still slipping. They're still moving. The first layer is not moving so well anymore. It's starting to get a little gummy. And then I'm just going to put some pressure on it. Make sure everything feels tight. And then you need something heavy. I have these buckets that I just mixed some cement in for a different video, and I'm putting weight on top of this here. These are like 30, 40 pound buckets here, 35 pound buckets. That's enough weight. feels secure enough, so that'll do it. Now I just got to let that sit for at least 15-20 minutes, and then I'll check and see if it feels things are tight enough. If I start carving this too soon, my carving tools, I use a saw and things to cut it, it'll get all gummy and gooey all over my saw.